So Dungreed has been getting updates pretty much constantly since I last looked at it, and although a lot of them are just, quality of life improvements, really nice, really helpful, they even reworked the entire food system. It was nothing too meaty, too interesting to look at, so it took me until right now, where, as you can probably see the playtime there, something maybe not meaty, but very much lengthy has been added. Oh, and before we start, I have the wings because I switched out my training abilities to have mystics so that I can return with one item when dying. Obviously, you usually want to choose a legendary item like the wings here, which now are animated. Look at that. Well, anyway, there is a new character here. You rescued this guy from the Hotlands now, and after saying something, pretty cryptic here, he shows up in town. You build a cottage for him. Yeah, and it unlocks something called the Trial. So what does this guy actually have to say once you build him his cozy little... Alright, it's just a shack. But anyway. Yeah, you can tell that this guy's a fan of watching LPs on YouTube. But go to the 5th floor. Ha ha ha. That's what you gotta do. So what are the hey, Ring of Might is nice. So what are the trials? Well, you know how Rogue Legacy had... Oh, that's... Oh, come on, really? Like, I'm that far away? Because that is a really good synergy with the wings. Well, anyway, you know how Rogue Legacy had the remix bosses? You could fight tougher versions of bosses with pre-made characters, and you would get something to unlock. Well, let's just say something if you've never played that game before. This is pretty much the same sort of concept. Oh, come on, I can't afford anything. And let me tell ya, they are tough. The trials are tough. They will test your combat abilities. They will test your, athleticism, everything that you could possibly think of in the game. And, the worst part is, here's one of the new items. Combine 3 things and you get a new item. I'm not going to be doing that. Best thing you use that for is just combine 3 rare items and you get a legendary item. But yeah, the worst thing by far about them is that you only get 1 shot for each run. That's right, you gotta go through and do another run each time you fail the trial. But we'll get there soon enough. Oh man. Let's take a look at some of the newer things that they've added since I've been playing here. Obviously you can see satiation on the bottom left here, as well as much easier to read statuses with better translations in general. Thanks, Team Hore. You can see the food that you get, and your various other abilities there too. And I think one of the nicest things, if I go, why'd I go right into that? And I think one of the nicest things that they've added is that do I even want to rapier? The little teleport stones that you go into, the little teleport doorways, actually look like Dungreed, proper this time, with the big flaming eyeballs and everything. But Hererica, like I said, they did change up the shop here. Now you can get rare items that do something super amazing, but otherwise just get stuff that increases max health, power, always power, and evasion or defense. Evasion, defense, and critical, I mean. So they know what you were taking every single time before. Now it's just been sort of streamlined to be a little less, okay, you go defense, defense, power, 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 and then all up on critical for the rest of the run like I was doing in the other runs there. And additionally, there have been a whole bunch of little things added, like the... Come on. There have been a whole slew of new items added. You can actually see them in an item list now. Like this, which is crazy gimmicky. Siri, one new one of the dolls. You'll see later that choosing Mystic, I pretty much always went for Tana. If I can find her here. Well, it's a doll that gives you the shield. Nitro gauntlets, just rocket punches here, as well as set bonuses that you now can get. I have most of them on my other save file, but not on this one. And there's also rooms like this little special room with a pot. There's one where you can reforge your equipment to make them more powerful. One where... oh, like this one here. Delicious looking strawberry juice. Cover HP, but your satiation increases. Also a reverse of that one too. A lot of cool little things that have been added now. I think just having the status be a little bit more accurate right now is perhaps the most useful out of any of those things, but... yeah, Dungreed has been coming quite a way here, let me tell you, since the earliest days. I think even in the last series, like, you know, couple episodes that I did on it, I was talking about how, hey, I really like this game, I think it plays really well, and it's pretty fun, but it just feels a little bare, you know? It's the sort of thing where if there was a Dungreed 2, it would be, you know, greatest game of 2019, 2020, whenever it would come out. But as of right now, And I think that they're doing a lot to kind of convince me that instead of maybe like a sequel, maybe this will start to get more of a Binding of Isaac. I mean, you remember how in the original Binding of Isaac, all you did was you beat up Mom and then Mom's heart, and then game was over. And then through so many updates and expansions and rebirth and expansion packs and everything like that, it suddenly is like so much deeper, so much more stuff than there was before. And I'm kind of hoping that that's what they're going to be doing with Dungreed here as well. There's definitely still a lot of care going into this game. Although, again, I have no idea, because this is a... well, it's not a Kickstarter, it's a Tumble Bug, which I think is some sort of alternative type of crowdfunding. It could... oh, fun. Yep, it's just a big, huge umbrella. And you can do this with it. I'm sure it's a reference to something, but I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what's being crowdfunded. Like, oh, hey, the Trials was one of the stretch goals, and now it's just finally getting implemented into the game, or what? But hey, the fact that, you know, months later, I'm still coming back to this game, having a lot of fun with it still. Well, as fun or determined to finish the series proper, I suppose, are two sides of the same coin, really. Get out of here, y'all. Yeah, and you only got it for so long, but you do have infinite bolts while you're doing that. But anyway, the game has been really good. That's what I'm saying. I've been really impressed with what they've been doing. I just would really like it if you could do Trials more than once in a run, even if I had to play as a very difficult character or something. Like, if I had to throw on Lasley or something, it's like, oh, you get 3 tries, because that's Lasley's whole thing. Wings. They're not as overpowered as ever. I still think the most overpowered thing is just working with Tana the entire time. I think she got upgraded from being rare to being legendary now, so a bit harder to get, but if you're using the Mystic level 20 ability so that you can just take her out of the dungeon, well, unless the game crashes on you, which did happen to me. That's why I don't have her in my current save file. Whoa, getting a little bit of lag there. Ooh, but nice. Red Dragon Kill. It's a great weapon. That's the one you unlock from Envy Rock, first time you beat him. Oh yeah, and even some of the bosses now have a new item that you can unlock by beating them. So, for example, you would normally get, what is it, Nestron from beating... this weapon from beating the upcoming boss here. Now you also unlock the Velocipede. Pretty cool little item. Also, yes, that is just straight up the Moonlight Greatsword from, I think, the Bloodborne version, judging by the look of it. Even can shoot off a big wave of energy. Oh, this is one of the new rooms. Pretty much it chooses a rarity, and then you get a choice from 4 items. You can only take 1, though. These all appear to be common rarity, though, so whatever. It doesn't really matter what I choose. You get something like a rare version of that. You get 3 rare items, and you can just choose 1 for free. That's amazing. You know, I'll tell you this. The fact that you can only do trials once per dungeon, it's like, I think, hey, if nothing else, it has made me much better at playing the game. Because, oh god, it is so very frustrating to lose on those and then have to redo an entire run. Anyway, yeah, you'd think the fire would be a little bit more effective here, but no, it's just a good weapon entirely. Alright, I'm getting... Yoner said to get to the 4th floor. Also, as always, I am guessing on all of these names because I kept calling her Erica here, Herencia, for the longest time in the last playthrough, too. So that should kind of tell you what sort of authority I am on that. Yeah, if you can't get Tana, wings are a pretty nice sort of option to choose here. Also, somehow grabbing a legendary weapon out of a chest. A boss chest, but still just a regular chest. There are a lot more potential. There's a lot more potential for legendary items these days, so getting something like a good legendary weapon has become rarer and rarer. Alright, let's see if I can find that trial. Oh, come on. By the way, if you're wondering, no, there is no way at all I'm going to pass the trial on my first attempt here. That is just not going to happen. Especially because the first trial is perhaps one of the more difficult of them all. I mean, it's the most difficult of them all. The first trial is the hardest. Which is good because you're forced to go deeper and deeper into the dungeon for the rest of the trials, so having to redo so having the toughest one first, I think, is just fair. Alright, come on. Oh, it's Skeledog down here. By the way, if you're wondering, best way that I've at least found to speedrun this game is to take Tana and then take the... Ooh, that's a good item. Also a rare one, you can see by the greenness. Take Tana and take the criminal guy with his so much motive and so much tools of crime. Because then you don't have to worry too much about having virtually no health when you have it essentially regenerate as soon as you're out of the room. Alright. I do kind of miss being invincible while dashing, though. That was so helpful. But being able to just carry the wings out of here with me each time is much better. Because you know what none of the various abilities give you? A very nice weapon right at the start, right off the bat. No waiting. Here we are. That's the trial, and you can see above me on the map here. That's what I gotta do. Strawberry. Oh, you don't get to play as your character. You get to play as this hooded guy that looks a lot like Yoner's. Like seriously, he's still wearing the hood in town. Like, he just doesn't have it up. What are you trying to fool me? But anyway, yeah, you can see on the right there, time slows down when you dash for that gauge's length. So, hey, let's go. It's called Careful Dash. Oh, and perhaps one of the nicest little bits that they did here was this area down here, right below me, that used to have spikes that activated when you stepped on them, so you'd have to be constantly like jumping until your dash is refreshed. So they did at least nerf it a little bit. Still can only do it once per run, though. Oh, no! No, get out of there! Get out of the thing! Yeah, Dungreed, it is not a game built for dashing like this. That said, you want to do the trials? We'll do it. Oh, I'm taking so much damage. Well, I would rather take damage from these tiny spikes than the buzzsaws or fire, which do like 10 damage, and I think the spikes just do 6. Okay. Like, what, halfway done here? Oh, Want to wait until these things are firing pretty close to each other. Like that. Or even at the same time, if you can manage it. Bullet time. Didn't think you'd see that in Dungreed. Unfortunately, I think this is the only place that you're... I think this is the only place that you're going to be able to use the careful dash. Oh, I told you I wasn't going to pass this on my first try. Damn. But yeah, that's just that done. And you can see if I go back in here. Nope. Do it again. Go back and do it again. Get me out of here. And that's why I like using the ninja. Just give me the wings. Make me a band on the run here. Well, that's what it looks like when you use Mystic, then. So, did you find that funny, then? Well, lucky for you, I've already completed all the trials. Let's go to the footage. Alright, let's see what a good version of the first trial, the Trial of the Strawberry, looks like. Each one of the trials is named by the eventual goal, like the end marker here. And this one is a strawberry. Why? Because I think it's supposed to be a reference to Celeste, to be honest. I mean, it's a dashing, platforming-based challenge. You're in a big, snowy, mountainous region. One of the items that you unlock by beating the trials is just straight up a strawberry that makes pretty explicit reference to Celeste, so... Hey, it's a good thing that I played that game for this channel, because otherwise that reference would have been lost on me, like 99% of the references made in this game. Oh, those little jumps are so hard to do, because momentum more than often will be throwing you into the next pair of spikes. That is, if you manage to clear the first set of spikes. It's... annoying. Well, hey, you know, Dungreed overall is... I'd really risk going through that there, but it worked, I guess. Yeah, Dungreed overall doesn't really have the sort of finesse, like I said, the momentum, the kind of big-ish hitbox that you have on your character and everything like that. It's why you're able to take so many hits in this challenge and still are able to continue on. I can see what they were trying to do, but even with the careful dash, it's still really tough. I mean, hell, I would say that actually getting used to the careful dash in the first place got me killed the first couple times that I tried doing this challenge, because I just couldn't get used to it. They throw you right into the fray without, like, letting you play around with it a little bit first. But, like I said, this is probably the hardest of the various challenges, so it's a good thing that it was the first one, and the earliest one in the dungeon, so you didn't actually have to go too far to restart this over and over and over. Yeah, there are those spikes. Those are the type of spikes that I was talking about being way earlier in the trial before Team Hore took them out, because I guess it was just too hardcore. Just tank my way right through that and grab myself a strawberry statue. Or touch it? Whatever, I got a fanfare. Was that not good enough? Alright. Yoners, what do you got to say about this? Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have just changed my shampoo or something. Only somebody that passed the trial could possibly smell like strawberries. Back in the mag glands, flag. So, obviously, I'm going for a flag this time, and it's pretty much the same sort of thing, a platforming challenge, except this time I do not have my ability to dash. I don't know why this little bit of it is the hardest part of the entire level. It's just... Honestly, watching this right now, I'm like, I don't really know what's so difficult about it. Whatever, anyway. This is actually the hardest part of it. Gotta do some pretty careful weaving there. Yoners, if that's who that's supposed to be, doesn't move very fast. Also, yeah, if you get hit by one of those fireballs, you teleport back to the beginning. Good for going backwards, but if you don't see that coming, you might just walk directly off the edge and into the lava and take burn damage. And, yeah. Well, whatever. Base characters are not very mobile, so it couldn't possibly be too difficult to get through this area. Lightning strikes, those are the ones that the robots use in the forest level. Being repurposed here for... Again, not particularly difficult. The kind of blew the really tough stuff at the very beginning. I mean, like look at this. I don't get it. Is this supposed to be challenging at all? I did this part in the stupidest way possible. You should clearly be going underneath them. What are you even doing? 2 hit points left. Will I make it? Will I make it to what is obviously the reference for this level? It's Super Mario Brothers. Because you get it, you're just jumping, you're not using your dashes like Super Mario Brothers. Alright, let's just get out of here. Not nearly as bad compared to the other trials. I think that one took me the least amount of time to do. Yoners! Mm-hmm. You didn't think I was worth talking to? I guess he was just laughing at me before. Whatever. How did you know about those? Why did you... Did you purposely get sucked into the dungeon? Sword. Obviously, there's not too much more you can do with various platforming, athletic sort of challenges here, so now it's just a huge gauntlet of battles against pretty much every sort of enemy in the game with essentially a base level character, though with 400% critical hits, so that's kind of a big difference. And you have your choice between, what is it, a longsword and a heater shield, I think that is, and a greatsword. The heater shield obviously gives you a little bit of extra defense as well as a block, but the greatsword, while being slower, does more damage. And if you get like a critical on anything, you're going to be taking them down in one hit, so... Tougher enemies, or tougher to hit enemies like that, suddenly can, well, have the potential of going down very quickly. So, for example, flying enemies like that, it might be worth taking out a greatsword for. Ground enemies, you just want to hit with your other weapons as much as possible so you can try to get those 140 damage criticals in there. Compared to like your 28 I'm seeing here, normal damage. Needless to say, a bit hard to see in the fray. I was more focused on dodging. This was also another trial that I believe was nerfed a little bit from the very original version. Yeah, those giant ghosts you can take out in one hit with a greatsword, which is, if nothing else, definitely the one place that you want to use the greatsword. I would probably suggest just using the longsword in any other part of the trial. You used to have, I think, 200 health at the start. Of course, before that update, of course, I couldn't even pass the first trial before that update even went live, so I never saw it. But hey, I guess that's nice, because much like the second trial, I got pretty close to losing this one here. So the interesting thing is that, yeah, Jonas is a weird guy. He seems, like the way he talks, he seems to have gotten purposely sucked into the dungeon. While like everybody else was kind of confused or at least annoyed that they were trapped in, you know, this interdimensional prison slash treasure repository, Jonas was kind of like, hey, I found what I was looking for, get me out. And now he's telling you, like, I wandered around until I purposely found... What was he doing? And I suppose kind of a minor-ish spoiler, but after you beat all the trials, he just leaves. You go back into town and his house is empty. There's no one there. It just says his cottage is locked and he's gone. So although I think that as of right now it might seem like there's something of a definitive ending to the game, that's still a big, weird plot point. This sort of kind of evil-seeming old man just disappears for no reason. You'd think that if he was trying to, you know, help you or do anything good, then he would have explained that rather than just piecing out after you finish everything. Perhaps for a later update? Who knows? Still something to think about. Alright, and then here's where you want the Great Sword, just to be able to attempt to take out that character in one hit. But aside from that, those were all enemies from the Moonlight Desert, so there's the end. Just some super broken sword here. Whatever. Yoners, what you gotta say? What records? Where'd you find these records? I don't even know. Yep, Ninja with Muramasa. I really lucked out grabbing that weapon. That's just a fantastic one all around, especially for the ninja character. And it's not actually supposed to be gibberish, it's just that your character does not understand what it says. And of course, because the last one was melee fights, it's ranged fights with what appears to be a jetpack and some kind of laser rifle. You never see these anywhere else in the game. It's kind of weird that you didn't unlock them after beating the trials or something like that. You know, as new weapons that you could potentially use, but no, they're unique to this very trial alone. This stupid twin-stick shooter type segment here. And if you know anything about me, you know that I'm absolutely terrible at shooters, so even though this one is not very difficult at all, I still had to do it like a dozen times. And that requires you to get to the very end of the game. Like, literally second to last area. It's great. I love it. I loved it. I loved doing it. It was my favorite part of the trial. Well, no, my quote-unquote favorite part of the trials was probably the first one. God, that was so difficult. Oh yeah, you see those things that... I always thought that they looked like fingertips, but apparently they're supposed to be like little spaceships or something. Also, a unique enemy that only appears in this little section. For the shooter section here. I get the feeling that they sort of made this as like something of a joke or something like that, or maybe as a tiny side project, and they decided to put in the trials just to justify its inclusion in the game, because it is definitely a little bit more fleshed out, as it were, compared to some of the other trials, which are, you know, just standard, like, fights or slightly... I suppose there was a careful dash, but oh, these have unique items, unique weapons, all that sort of stuff. Very silly. Anyway. Yep, it wasn't just gibberish, it's actually the fighter jet challenge. Of course. No, yeah, whatever, don't even care. Mm-hmm. How did you say that in red? Well, as it turns out, it's actually extremely obvious where that is. You cannot miss it. So, first off, gotta beat up Envy Rock here, but just as a little bit of a show to see how ridiculously overpowered the run that I'm working with here. The ninja gets a lot of power due to his costume-specific abilities, and I got a pretty powerful weapon here, so keep that in mind as you see the next section. Anyway, right after that battle, you can see a clear pit in the floor. Just drop right down there. Doesn't really require any searching, it's just immediately after the Envy Rock battle. The final trial, Ertali. So, Again, keep in mind how quickly I killed Envy Rock, and then look at how ridiculously close this fight is. So, Erta. He's got a few different attacks due to his multiple hands. Each set of hands only does one thing. The first ones slam down on the ground, cause a whole bunch of lava spray. The second ones do a Belial sort of thing and shoot out laser beams at you. And the third ones... One hit left would have killed me there. And the third set summon a whole bunch of fireballs. It is not an easy fight, and you will probably get hit a whole lot. But if you have a really ridiculously overpowered run and can just tank your way through it, thanks to Tana being here, it's thankfully not too bad. He can be a real rough fight for only fighting him mid-game, though. I mean, yeesh. Hey, that's the item that crashed the game and made me lose Tana. Thanks, Team Hore. And there's a strawberry that I was talking about. When climbing a snowy mountain. Yep, and +2 dashes. It makes sense. This is a reference to something, but I don't remember what it is. The Chintamani Stone. This is an interesting item. I got it once before. It just seems to up your damage by 100 slowly, but then it doesn't seem to go down. I don't know. And Stromboli, it explodes after hitting enemies for a certain amount. It's a neat weapon. It's not anything really amazing, though. I've gotten it a couple times in runs. Yeah, no, just get the little stone tablet there. Nothing else. But this, it's a kiosk. Like, I did... What? I mean, hey, it's cool. It's not even a real hammer. It's just essentially a super powerful buff that gives you the ability to light things on fire for a lot of damage. Then dumps you right back out in the forest. Okay, let's check out Erta with a little less ridiculously powerful run so that you can see some of his attacks rather than just watching me tank my way through everything. Hands slam down there right underneath you and then shoot up fireballs, so you're not supposed to just sit above them like I was doing. Thankfully the wings here are at least making it a little bit easier. And yeah, what you need to do is his health bar represents his current hands, so each set of hands that he summons will essentially refill his health bar, even though the hands that technically died are still attacking you with their full set of attacks. Gotta watch out for those fireballs from the ceiling too. Flamethrower is at least doing quite a bit of damage here. Although I think the real MVP here was wings. Now here you can see the second set of hands a little bit better. They just go right to your position and shoot a laser beam. It's pretty much the exact same attack as the Belial hands, except, you know, way more going on in this fight than the Belial fight. I think the hardest part about this is making sure that you don't accidentally fall in lava, because that's a pretty big, that's a pretty big damage over time that you get on yourself, and it's really easy to do because his first set of hands will constantly be, well, aiming directly for you. But yeah, you can see those hands summoning up fire from the ground, shooting volleys of fire at me. I died. No, but it's okay. There's a new type of food called a Minotaur steak that costs a ton of satiation and requires you to pay a lot for it, but it revives you at half health once when you die. So it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, that's a little bit closer to what a proper Erta fight would look like. Hey, thanks. I mean, I've already done it before, but whatever. Tower Shield's not a bad item. I mean, I can't really use it here, but still not a bad item. And just the same thing as usual. Like, obviously, you get a boss chest. No healing, though, which is kind of a thing. if you happen to get out at low health. And then you get the Burning Ancient Hammer, provided you have like 5,000 gold, which I don't know. Feels weird. They should just give that to you, but whatever. Anyway, back to Caminela. This is the final boss fight. You might notice that in this run that I have, in fact, gotten the Burning Ancient Hammer, which is important because, well, you'll see in a second. But right now, I just wanted to kind of show the fight because, first off, this was a really good Caminela fight. Well, with the exception of this part. You can see here, I got a very good run. I have the character that builds up the rage meter and then gets a huge boost to attack speed, as well as a couple very, very powerful weapons. The lightsaber here, which I'm pretty sure is a registered trademark, so I don't know how Team Hore got the ability to use it in their game, as well as over 200 health. And I think it was close to like maximum amount of evasion and defense too. But that's not what I'm here for. Yep, you need the Burning Ancient Hammer. Then you can, and then if you notice that you can interact with that right wall, which I just found completely at random as I was wandering around the room at one point in time when I beat Caminela, and you get floor 21. Really cool area in here. A lot of thumping. Then you see locked up Thorn Monster for some reason attacking what appears to be a Rubik's Cube. Also, yeah, that's right, the final super boss of the game is a Thorn Monster. And it just literally looks like a big old ball of thorns. Thankfully, I have a pretty powerful build here, because otherwise this dude can be rough. He does quite a bit of damage, and his thorns are fairly difficult to dodge, as you might notice here. With how they're homing there and everything. But with the huge... For some reason, he doesn't hurt you when he lands on top of you. I don't understand that, though. Yeah, with a huge damage increase, huge power, huge amount of defense, I'm able to tank my way through it pretty well. Thank God, because otherwise I would have to do this so many times over just to be able to get it. But then, third phase. It starts to warp around, continues shooting a whole bunch of thorns, and platforms are fading in and out of existence, so that's kind of annoying. Thankfully, the tanking method continues to work swimmingly. That thing is adorable. Ah, take that. So, who are you? Also, I didn't really have any plan when I came in here because I didn't even know what I was doing. I just found a thorn monster and beat it up. I can wait. I don't have to. Oh, okay, fine. It's like I'm just like, what? Wait, what? Do I really still have to continue to give up all my items? Okay. I beat up the final super boss. Wasn't that enough to prove that I should be able to keep my okay? That's fine, I guess. Took me a second to realize you can control your character here. And I can switch back to my lightsaber. Hooray! I like that the ellipses had a period after it. Hey, it's the dungeon itself, evidently. Mm-hmm. That's a good question, because Arsha sure wasn't any help. And there you have it, a proper end to the game rather than Arsha just saying, I don't know, Dungreed malfunctioned or something. And although that does seem like a pretty definitive end, there's still a couple loose ends around there, Yoners, I'm looking at specifically. So I hope this game continues to get updated in the future and like maybe get some more content or fixes or changes or whatever. But aside from that, I've been having a lot of fun with it again. And I have unlocked everything, so until next update, I suppose.